Hi guys, it's coffee morning for a Sunday. Just want to talk about being played, and I've got some notes today as well, so I've actually got something to talk about. But being played is everywhere. It's in everything we're doing. If you look at Netflix, some of the worst shows on the planet are on there at the moment. Yet that business is valued in the billions. I look at the content, and I've got to admit, I'd like to scrub the last 3 years of what has been created by these media groups. They're absolute garbage. I mean, that Three Body Problem, which is the latest tripe on Netflix, is the most dull and uninteresting event for 2024 so far. Shogun seems toned down by what do you call it? That's Disney, isn't it? Okay, we're going to start going. So people complaining there's not a lack of black people in Japan for Shogun. Long pause. Don't understand what they're talking about. You know, they really went out their way to try and make a story fact. Should we call it story fact? That's a new term. We should keep that, story fact, where you make a story up and tell everyone it's a fact. Because they're on about one Japanese person, they assume that there's a samurai was black, but there's no evidence of him actually being black. But it's just something. It become a focus as a lack of black people in Shogun. Now, this sort of stuff can only be fascism, unless anybody else can come up with another term for it, where you're actually writing things out of history in a similar way of book burning and things like that. To rewrite history, it only seems to be related with fascists, from what I'm aware. Major problem. Now, being played, part of this coin is realizing when you're buying into it. You can be buying into it in the fact that you believe it and don't bother double checking from other places, or you're financially supporting it on a subscription for $9.99 or whatever it is. Personal recommendations. Recognize when you're being played. I mean, I'll get onto another one in a minute, but recognize where you're getting played. This stuff is tripe, absolute tripe. If you're financially supporting it, then you have a major problem, because long term they're going to start brainwashing the next generations of kids, because they've started this in the 60s in the schools. That's why you've got all these mediocre managers and stuff now. Oh, that point 3, I'll bring that one up as well. So the fact is, if you're not supporting it, it makes it harder for them to grow it. So if you take your subscription away, and one of the things I noticed the other day, actually, do you know what I'm watching at the moment? Game of Thrones. Like I said, if I wrote off the last 2 or 3 years, you could take out all the garbage in one go. So instead of having a subscription, maybe build a DVD collection or whatever. The shows prior to COVID were much better. Although, to be fair, Netflix was already on an agenda back then. So not financially support it, but also recognise it and recognise the double standards. Disney is obviously ditched Johnny Depp, the sort of made Pirates of the Caribbean, and I assume the new version is going to be a bit more inclusive and funny and more like One Piece. A lot of purple-haired women in whatever. So that's another one that's tanking as soon as it goes to the cinema. So recognise this stuff, because it's don't buy into it. Don't even entertain the fact that you're thinking it can't be that bad and buy a ticket. Just don't invest in it. It's a bit like I mentioned on the last video about the England football team with a buy flag. Buy, buy one from Wish, buy one from wherever, get a counterfeit one. Because the FIFA and whatever do not own the St. George flag. And I will be perfectly honest, you'll never catch me with a St. George flag, because there's not 1% of me that's English. But the reality is, I support people starting to be a bit more proactive in avoiding all this nonsense. Because if you take the funding away, it becomes harder to do. Hence, the Bud Light issues, the Disney issues. When it starts hitting the stock market, it starts reshaping their entire business, because they can't maintain it. It needs money being maintained. Money is the beast of the West. Money is the beast of it. Well, everywhere. Look at the Middle East. If it wasn't for the money, do you think there'd be as much conflict over there at the minute? And you can withdraw your piece. The next one is an example. ISAs. I was reading an article yesterday on ISAs, which is an investment funds. Basically, you can put up to £20,000 in it a year in the UK, and it's tax free. So your profits are tax free every year for up to 20,000. And the article was complaining that it's only the top percentages that manage to hit the 20,000 a year. Shock horror. And the lower percentages, well, sorry, that's unfair. Not lower. I'd say the lowest percentages, those that are on less than 10,000 a year, have less than 5,000 a year savings. Now, I may be a bit harsh with that piece, but I would actually say if you're on less than 10 grand a year in the UK, you're probably on benefits. This may shock you. I already pay enough tax for you. You want me to pay for your bloody savings as well? If you're not working at all, does that also mean not only am I subsidising your food, your roof, your housing, whatever you spend the rest of the money on, your pension that you probably won't invest in, now you want savings as well? Get lost. Perfectly blunt, get lost. Reality is, life's hard. If you want to sit at the bottom, that's up to you. And I don't want to hear people say, I can't do anything about it. You can always do something about it. Always. I mean, when I was skint, I'd have 2 jobs. I've had up to 2 full-time jobs, like on an ongoing basis. Then I educate myself more and more and work my way out of that crap. It becomes working smarter at that point. But if you've got a little backing, it's working for the money, then get the money, then get smarter, then work out of it. But it's certainly not going, oh, well, you put money in your savings and I haven't got any in mine. Can you give me some of your money? No, not a hope. Yeah, I'm not going to go any further now because that really annoys me. Gets on to my next point. Oh, did I come up with another one? Oh, mediocre managers. Yeah, Netflix. The writers have gone a bit woke and weird in Hollywood, and it's all tied with 2 things. Firstly, mediocre managers. And then you've got the fact that some of these writers are actually woke and strange and whatever. If you're actually like me that tries to do your job properly, you're getting a push from a corporate level, which is pushed from a government level, to have all these woke policies, embedding every aspect of society into whatever you're doing. So, for example, I'm making a TV series. If you've got a black person, an Asian person, guy in a wheelchair, blah, blah, blah. Because initially I could see it was done originally subtly, where you start to see more Asian people, because the excuse was we're pushing for the Chinese market. But now it seems to be just nonsense, because I think they thought, well, people have accepted that, so we'll do it more and more. Problem you got is, I don't think anybody at the moment is absorbing this as truth. You know, when you've got like a Black Cleopatra, or there was some show about, I think Victorian Britain, where there's a black woman, there's some lady or whatever. I didn't even watch it to the point of getting click on it. I just looked at it and thought, absolute garbage, not interested. Now, there was black people in the UK at that time, but how many were lords and ladies? I'd say that's pretty a narrow window you're looking at there. But anyway, it gets back to recognise being played, but I also recognise that people trying to do their job get bombarded with this crap every day. I do. I get it. And I think the only sort of voice that's sort of gone the other way and he can afford to do it and has the clout is probably Sylvester Stallone. Because quite simply he's obviously tired of this garbage. And it's not equality. Let's face it, that is not equality. That's fascism that's coming out. You're replacing people to fit a political agenda in businesses, in government. That's a fascist takeover. And we sleepwalk into it, it can become a very dangerous place. There was another interesting one I noticed the last couple of days as well, because there's a lot of negativity around London about how expensive it is there, etc., etc. And then you start thinking about it. Can you take the box and just sort of split it up and go, right, what directions can people be coming for on this? Because, yeah, I mean, I go to London and I think there's some amazing places and then there's absolute dumps. The underground smells like dried hairdryer air filled with asbestos or plasterboard dust or whatever. It's not a nice place down there. They definitely don't seem to have enough extract systems going. But the fixation on all the negative aspects of London's one thing. But is this to encourage more Brits to leave? Is this people saying, look, London is crap and I get lots of views? Is this a case of telling people arriving illegally or legally not to waste their time coming here? This is the point. You've got to sort of broaden out your thoughts on it. Because when you hear the way some of them talk, it is down the lines of don't come here if you're British. But in other ways, you see other people going, what a dump. It's like there's some YouTube channels on the state of town centres and stuff in the UK. My personal view on that is I'm not a fan of it. Unless you're going to do something positive about it, there's no point whining about it. I know where pretty much most high streets are absolute pig hole. Betting shops, charity shops, and what do you call it? Bet shops, charity shops, and pawn shops. Not in the sexual content, but in the extraction of financial monies exchanged for valuable goods that probably been shoplifted nearby. But the point being is the UK has been in decline for a long time. My personal view is too many landlords are squeezing profits out of property. And the problem is not just the commercial aspects, it's in the residential. The UK is disproportionately squeezing its population. You know, the rents are high, cost of living's high, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think they need to be. I mean, when I go out to, say, the Philippines, oh yeah, but that country, you don't have your healthcare, you don't have this. It's like, you pay for that stuff. Yeah, it's got it all. But the difference in the UK, you pay for it all, and you don't get any of it. The UK is out of sync. My view is that a working individual should be able to afford a roof over their house, roof over their head, food on the table, and as a minimum. UK, you need two incomes to just get to that level. It's out of sync. I mean, that means it's out of sync by at least 50%, or 100% actually. You need two incomes, it's 100% out. Are you got to blame for your feminism that? Of course I am. Of course I am. Feminism wanted women to have the choice of work, and now we're going down the route of being forced to work. Yeah. Being played. Every time it'll come back to that, being played. If a government's giving you something with one hand, it's took something with the other. And that's one of it. It's, yeah, you can earn more, you can have more, and now you've got less, and your income's probably still as it was 10 years ago, but everything's gone up. So you've got less, both partners are working, the family unit goes down the toilet, more kids born out of wedlock, more kids in single parent families or foster homes. Fantastic. So the next thing is, I'm going to go try and get some positive stuff in here. The next one is take responsibility, because we're going to move on about ourselves. So one of the aspects I've had, I mean, I've been through some of this pain as well, so it's not a case of it, you know, I'm isolated from it. It's a bit like the mediocre managers. Yeah, this will tie in actually. This ties in with the last point and this. So I've experienced mediocre managers. A mediocre manager are often people that come out of university or whatever, and they've just got a piece of paper. And I'm not being funny, I'm doing it at the moment, and I don't really need to do much because it is that simple. I mean, it's annoyingly stupid. But the fact is, they come out with a bit of paper and go, oh look, I've got a degree, I'm a manager now. I want to be a director, but I'm a manager. I've got to be a manager for 2 years. And they're put into roles because A, they're cheaper, but B, they actually think they're good at their job. This is the weird thing. But like I said, the course I'm looking at, I'm going, hang on a minute. What's this LGBTQ nonsense? What's this Black Lives Matter? What's all that? You go, where's the actual management stuff? Why am I looking at people and thinking, you're a complete twat? Oh yeah, they don't understand empathy. They don't understand how to speak to people with courtesy. They don't know how to treat people with dignity. They're self-absorbed. Matt, you're starting to sound like you have the issue with it. It's not that. It's not that, because even where I'm sat today, where I'm working, at least 40 to 60 people have left in the last 18 months. And you know, the funny thing is, even when I say things like that, if it was in the work environment, they call me a liar. That's how bad it is. yeah, I could actually name them. That's the strange thing. And then it gets into this whole defensive, oh, well, you can't talk about it like that. It's like, you asked, are you calling me a liar? You know, you get into this weird conversation of like, you've been caught out, you're a liar. You are a blatant liar. You know, you may go, oh, shut up, we don't want to hear the truth. That's fine. But don't turn around and make me that I'm the issue here, mate. It's not me. But the good thing is, I'm in contact with a lot of these people, and they've all moved on to better businesses. You know, somebody was unfit to manage some sites in London. He's now running projects on railways. Far more dangerous, high risk, etc., and doing well at it. Same with one of my project managers, moved on to doing solar energy projects, doing really well at it. And you start going down, everyone seems to have gone off and done better. And the fact is that I engage with everybody, just check how they are and whatever. They'll keep in touch. Do you think the mediocre manager's in touch with anybody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And one of the dumbest things that I've seen in this business and my previous one is the excuse of dealing with the retention and why people have left is going, oh, well, we have a leaving interview. Right. A, that doesn't involve retention. Why? Well, you've already accepted their resignation. You haven't put on the table. Take that off. Let's have a talk about anything like that. No, you've shafted them because they don't fit in with your agenda. And secondly, it doesn't help the business at all. It's a tick box exercise. They couldn't give a damn what you write on it. I've seen it twice now with companies thinking that's a solution. Have a leaving interview, and then you're sitting in meetings with, like the whole contract meeting with everybody that's on the contract, and they're sitting there going, "Oh, yeah, we're doing something about the fact that everyone keeps leaving. We're having leaving interviews, so we can learn from it." Most of those people wouldn't leave if you actually treat them with respect, but most of those people wouldn't actually leave if you actually found out why they were leaving and actually worked on it. Instead, I'm not taking responsibility for my actions. You're the problem, so you leave. And that's the mentality. Take responsibility. But it also gets back to being played. I'm going to throw in something at the minute. Now we're on this path. It's about myself. Because what I've got at the minute is what's called, is it silent quitting? I'm sure it's silent quitting. See, what they do, this is what's happened to me in recent times. There's been a shift in the business. I'm not going into the politics of the mediocre manager involved. But what they've done is they've siloed, two of my team resigned, raised grievances, and that was like put under the rug. Third one now, I believe, has actually raised a grievance and finished 2 or 3 days ago. I think he's raised a grievance. And what they do is they silo you off. So, for example, I don't go to the meetings anymore. I only hear from the CEO that has meetings around whatever he wants. And at the same time, I know there's been stuff going on behind my back the whole time. But the point is, I'm in a position where you can either flap around, get really annoyed, put a grievance in with a business that's actually wanting you to leave. Hence, they silo you off, you keep you in the dark. They try to score you down on stuff, but can't score you down on stuff. So, give you an example. So, I had my personal development piece recently, and the CEO said to me, because I marked myself up, because I've gone above and beyond. I've had to deal with a mediocre management that has impacted delivery. I've had to write a lot of documents, create processes, write the policies, the strategies, etc. Outside my role. He goes, yeah, I don't think you've gone above and beyond. I'm marking you down, but I'm giving you full bonus anyway. So that's to just have a jab like that in the side, wanting a response, wanting a reaction. And even if you've seen this, it would be like, no, that's not that. That's not that. That's exactly it. It's to try and keep pushing you to the edge. Now, I already told him before to stop trying to gaslight me because I'm not buying into it. I know what he's doing. It's not a unknown practice to manage people out of the business by just harassing them, making their life difficult, keeping them away from everything. It's a bad way of working due to being a bad manager, but it's all to do with his internal politics. So, the whole point is, I take responsibility in the sense of, do I let this clown do this to me? Or do I get all flustered with it? Do I take them down the route of a grievance? The internal system isn't fit for purpose, never has been. We've had at least 3 HR people in the space of 2 years. And we don't get notifications of those changes even occurring. So even if you said, well, I tried to speak to HR about it, there's nobody there, they're not interested. If you take it to a tribunal, financially, it's not worth my time. So what you do, if you're in a similar situation, is you start looking for another job. and then you leave when it suits you. People wasting my time or whatever, it's fine. The way to deal with it is going, right, I've got 8 hours a day, yeah, do what you like. If you come to me and say, oh, yeah, this isn't finished on time, you said you'd have it finished by Friday. I go, okay, but on Tuesday you requested this extra work, on Thursday you requested this extra work, and that's how you've got to do it. Same as at a meeting, you phone up and cancel this week. Oh, can we move that back? Of course we can. Email goes out. As per the conversation on the phone 5 minutes ago, I'm happy to reschedule the meeting at your convenience due to your unavailability. And you've got to cover your back. The key to it is keep it professional. You may not be dealing with people that are professional. You may be dealing with people that are narcissists. You may be people that are incompetent, mediocre, blaming you for stuff behind your back, which is much easier when they take you out the meetings, because if you're in a position where you can't defend yourself, which is what they've done here, and I know it's been done intentional and it's exactly what's been going on, is don't let it bother you. It's their business. They're making excuses for their failures with you. When you go, makes it much harder to do it again, because they'll be down the same path again and needing to find someone else to blame. But the longer they do it, the harder it is to retain it, because eventually somebody goes, well, that seems to be the last 5 people, and it all seems to be them and not you. But anyway, you've got to work your way out of it. And part of that is put your own sort of shield up, in the sense of just do what you have to do and nothing else. Do not accept that the problem is you unless it really is you. It's one of the things I used to say to my one of my project managers, because he'd apologise for stuff other people had done. And I say, why are you doing that? You didn't do that. It's like, yeah, but I'm a bigger man, I'll take it on. No, because they're relying on that on a constant basis, that they can dump it on you. And if you look like you're the person that's the problem, you'll always be the problem, because you're an easy person to blame for everything. If you turn around and say, well, have you got any issues, please come to me and let me know, and that includes the people that you're talking to behind my back, they can speak to me directly, my door's always open, it diffuses some of that, because the fact is they're never 100% who's talking to who. As I said, the work environment I deal with, absolute narcissists, half of them. Next point I was making, recognise we're in a world of lies. That sort of emphasises it. But like I said, if you look at the Netflix, it's nonsense. Stuff going on in Gaza, look how the information's all over the place. You look at what's going on in London with the pro-Palestinian marches, the anti-Palestinian marches, the pro-British. I'm going to say pro-British because I think a lot of these people get misunderstood, because they often go down the narrative of football hooligans and skinheads, but a lot of it is around the erosion of British society. They may be some of the first people to complain, but they're complaining about, I don't know, the Pakistani flag being put on the British Cathedral in London. They're complaining about the fact that they're watching the UK decline. They're complaining about how this whole grooming thing with a certain community gets covered up by the police, etc. They have justifications, but the easiest justification to remove all their point of view is to make him out as football thugs, etc., etc., rather than actually going, well, why are you here? So we are in a world of lies, and that does spin in multiple ways. And there was an interesting thing, was it this week? I was listening to Nigel Farage was talking on a podcast, and they were talking about democracy in the UK and how it's declining, and he's actually hit on an important thread, because the fact is, once you've lost confidence in your government, that normally leads to rebellion historically. Now, I do think we're in a problematic place in the UK because we're a nation of sheep. There's a lack of real leaders. So but it doesn't mean you won't have like the poll tax riot type thing in London again and all that sort of stuff. And it doesn't mean that you're going to have a lack of discontent, because the more people have pressure applied to them through bad media, financial strain, once people have nothing to lose, it's a very, very dangerous position to be in. Very dangerous. And that's, just be aware of that from the background perspective. But this gets back into some of the positive stuff, is cut your own path. As you can hear with the stuff I'm dealing with at work, I don't sit there and get absorbed into it. I recognise what I'm dealing with. I recognise the good and the bad people in there, and the shades of grey, the indifference. The reality is, I'm not here to fight a battle or whatever. I'm not interested in the stupid politics of these individuals. Several of them are very, very bad at their jobs, and they're reliant on others carrying them. But it's getting smaller and smaller because less and less people want to work there. And cut my own path is not only about just changing jobs, but it's around creating the environment that I want to be in. The ability to travel, the ability to create progress, the ability to do more stuff that I want to be doing. So you can either take this as a complete negative, or you take it as a positive. The positive, most of the time, change is good. Stops becoming stagnant. Now, this is going to come out for people that are at the beginning. So, don't know what you want to be. Yeah, if you don't know what you want to be job-wise, set financial goals. So in reality, like say you are coming out of school, coming out of university, set financial goals first. Because if you're not sure what you want to do in your life's career, set financial goals and start working, generate a pot, start saving money, start investing, just get the ball rolling. Nothing worse than stagnation. The other advantage you got with that is, beyond having money, is while you're trying different things, as you start your career, you'll start to find things you like doing. Because some people become fixated that, I want to be a geologist or whatever. The opportunities are fairly limited, mate. Unless you're doing something spectacular, you're probably not going to achieve that. But having a degree in it will open up other opportunities. My view is, the industry I'm in, any idiot can do it, from the management perspective, and they have a lot of them. So financially, you probably find you could rise up through the ranks quite quickly. Salary-wise, you can jump from, say, 24 to up to probably 80,000 in the space of, say, 5-10 years. If you're prepared to kiss the backsides and play golf and work your way through it. But the good thing is, because there's so many mediocre managers, and I've seen this on a few companies now, you keep getting an exodus. So as long as you retain, there's a good chance you'll work your way up. But they are horrible companies. They are often people that aren't capable of doing their jobs, hence they're aggressive, defensive, argumentative, dictatorship, because the industry is full of a lot of managers and not enough skilled people that actually know the jobs. See, when I come into originally, it was full of people like ex-Navy. As such, they're used to understanding engineering, they have a background in knowledge, they're used to following specific paths. And then obviously back then I was involved with the construction side as well. So you had a lot of skilled people that couldn't get through the day with it being mediocre because it impacted other projects. What do I mean? Right, I'm building a hospital. I'm in charge of the security alarms, fire alarms, whatever. If I'm not managing my program properly, it will impact the construction, the fire stopping, the floor layers, the painters, and everything else. You will not be there very long, because other project managers will be flagging that up, saying, I can't work because Matt's cocking all this up. That's the reality. In FM, facility management, you just blame other people. That's what seems to be that just seems to be the trend. But the key to it, the financial goals, even if you don't know what you want to do with that finance, is generate a finance budget. So I want to save £10,000 this year. Then start putting it away. Start working towards that, because that £10,000 may not have anything you want to spend it on yet. But you may eventually want to go, oh, I'm going to go to Thailand for 6 months. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to spend it on a degree. I don't recommend buying degrees. I recommend having a look round. There's a lot of free ones. I mean, the one I'm doing, I didn't pay for. I think it's 14 grand a year, but it's subsidised. Not by the company. I think they contribute something like 700 quid. I think the rest of it's by state. Matt, you're just taking money out of the system. I put a ridiculous amount in the system. Don't you worry. They get their money's worth out of me. But you've got to work towards goals, not just assume they're going to come together for yourself. It doesn't work that way. You've got to start opening an account. I mean, if you have a Chase bank account, they have these payback ones where like you get percentage back on your spend. You can also have accounts that they're specific. So, for example, if you need transportation, you could set like say £5,000 for a car or motorbike, whatever, and you can contribute that as a separate account. The point being is you need to keep moving forward. Don't know what your finance goals are. Research. Oh, this is an important bit. I did think about this while I was writing this. So, if you don't know what your finance goals are, you don't know what your education goals are, and you don't know what your job goals are, I say research. You're in a position to be controlled. You are the evidence. So, the reason I highlight this is because years ago, it's a bit like me. I ended up in engineering because my father was in engineering. But your path was often cut for you in the sense of what direction to go in. But if you're coming out and waiting for other people to make decisions for you, you're not in control of your own destiny. You're not in control of where you want to be. And to be fair, my parents didn't cut a career for me in engineering. It was a case of my father was an engineer, and looking back, I should have gone did something else. But it was convenient at the time, so I started off as a security and fire alarm engineer. I did like a training course there, but the reality is, you need to realise that you need to make your own decisions and choices. If you let other people do it for you, you will either become dull, in the sense of you're just going through the motions, you're not invested in anything, not really interested, or you realise you imprisoned yourself. You feel uncomfortable in it, you feel like you're not achieving something, you feel like you're just bored of it. You need to understand that you need to break these binds on both aspects. If you're doing something that's crap and boring, or high stress or whatever, you need motivation. Motivation is not your job. The motivation is what you're doing with your money. Hence, you may hear in the background the waves. This is my motivation. My motivation is get the mortgage paid off. Once the mortgage is paid off, I don't need this job anymore. Simple as that. Not a big, long plan of all these big ideas. It's as simple as get the mortgage paid, because I can go back to the model I had in the Philippines, where I could actually have time to work out new ideas to make more money. At the moment, I have too many bills, too much obligations, but once the mortgage is gone, it makes a big difference. The whole point on this is everything's about our responsibilities. The politics around us do seem to be getting worse, but at the same time, you've got to understand that I think probably it's been less mediocre from probably the 80s. Because if we go back to the conflicts in the 50s, the 60s, etc., there was a lot more going on. We've had worse times as human beings. Right now, though, we have too much politics that's coming through on a live stream 24/7. We have too much politics that is now more splintered and harder to see the truth than probably any time in history, beyond the times of when it used to come back through a wooden ship that took 3 months to get to the UK, etc. Trust is in short supply. And that's one of the things I will say about where I'm working, and the same as any job. If there is no trust, it is probably the worst place to be, because there is nobody I trust in that business. The guys that I do trust, funny enough, have all left. I'm the last man standing. Strange place to be. But the reason I bring it up today, though, is not for pity me, but quite simply say we all get in these positions, whether it's our own making or other people. But the reality is doing something about it is the important bit. If you do nothing about it, it's your own fault. Do something about it, good luck. Hopefully you'll drop onto something better. But yeah, set your own goals, set your own objectives, set your where you want to be. Do not play the victim nonsense. Society's driven this crap at the minute where we're all victims, We're not fucking victims. Right? You're only a victim if you accept that's where your place is. Your place is today. What happened yesterday was yesterday. Doesn't matter anymore. Today matters. So today, I've got up. I'm sitting here with 2 books that I need to read. I've got a training course to do. Am I worried about work? Couldn't give a rat, because quite simply, that is temporary. Key thing today is I'll do a bit of studying this morning. I'll go out and spend time with my kids. Today is today. Tomorrow, I've got work. I want to fire through that course in the evenings. I want it done, finished, gone. I've got a job interview tomorrow. I've got another job I need to go back and say that I am interested in applying. The reality is, you either shape the world or it'll shape you. Life's too short, and I'll be perfectly blunt with you. If you're sitting thinking the world owes you a living and everything else, you're better than that. You're better than that. Accept where you are today. And it's not all negative. It's not all negative. You may have big financial worries, you may have a lot of problems going on, but in reality, it can be as simple as simply sitting here and listening to the waves. Let all the crap go out today. Save the crap for tomorrow, because there's going to be more crap. And if you start your day like this most days, you'll find it's much easier to cut through it. But also, you start to recognise more. You put more of an emphasis on understanding what's going on around you. Because when you can start seeing through it, this is one of the problems I've got, is because I've done like psychology courses and stuff. In fact, I've even got a certificate here somewhere for it. There's my certificate in counselling. So the fact is, when you start doing this type of stuff, and I'm going to warn you, because the problem is, if you do this type of stuff, you start to see through people. And part of that is, you know when people are lying to your face, you know when people are trying to play the victim, you know when people are trying to play you off somebody else. You start to see it. And most of the time, they don't like it when you know that they're doing that, because they have to look at themselves and realize they're liars. So empowerment, I hate using words like this because it's so often used these days. Empowerment is about being based, seeing where you are, start to understand your surroundings, start to understand your position, start to look for the future, your personal future. Because you can, even for like when you've got kids, you can only set that future in motion. Their destiny is their destiny. So don't get too engrossed in that. See, if you look at this, well, back to being played, I'm going to finish on this one. Look at how TV shows in the 80s talked about kids. So you could have the new car, you could have the big house, and you've got to have college funds for the kids. I wonder how easy that person is to control with so much financial debt or investments required just to stay above water. And that's, like I said, realize you're being played. Realize what all this is set up for. It's control. Because when you start stepping back, it's like, now if I quit work, I could stay in Spain for another year, even without any work on. But in reality, I'm driving a goal to be in the best position I can be in within 5. We've got a few business deals that we're working on in the background. I just need one of those to actually pay off, and I'm finished. But let's keep it grounded. It's not happened yet. It's not in a position where I have full control of it. It's not in a position where I can move forward on it. But I can hear the waves. I can hear no construction work. And the construction work, by the way, the reason I'm on about it. It's literally outside the window. But just bear that in mind. You've been in a bad place today. Tomorrow's a new day. You've been in a bad place from last week. Today, become based. Think about what you've achieved, where you are. Get yourself a notebook. I mean, I have lots of notes on all sorts in here. To be fair, I have lots of notebooks and lots of whiteboards and things like that, because this one's like a daily one, so I'll write notes like what we're doing here on the podcast. Then I've got measurements for buildings and codes for things I'm doing on spreadsheets. But then I've got like a journal I put stuff in, but my journal doesn't fill up too quickly because a lot of the stuff I've got is day to day. And the more you become based, the less people can irritate you, the less people can control you. And then you start focusing on how you can change narratives on things. Because like I said, that simple thing of like sending an email going, oh sorry, you've changed the meeting 5 minutes ago, just send an email to confirm as per your instruction, You start to lock everything down so nothing can be used against you. And once you start getting into that sort of position, it's difficult for people to try and outmaneuver you because you're assuming you can't trust them. And it's very evident that they know you don't trust them, hence you're doing it. It's not about courtesy, it's about they realise that you're going, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, of course we'll have the meeting tomorrow instead. You rebook it. But I'm telling you, you've just told me that you don't want it today, because then you can't say I didn't turn up to the meeting. What a world we live in, Will, silly little games. Anyway, guys, I'll leave you to enjoy the weekend. I'm going to go and have another coffee, and then I might even get Xbox today, you know. Got my training course to do, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the Xbox. The kids are still in bed because it's Sunday. I might Xbox. I think I'm going to Xbox for an hour, drink my coffee, then start doing my course. Because this course is boring, really, really boring. I nearly finished it before I left my last company. That's the annoying thing. So I'm probably going to skim it, because it's 22 hours long. But I'm probably going to skim the majority of it. But I've still got to go through it and double check in case anything's changed. It's a health and safety one. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend.